I guess one of the things about things like openness and cloud native, I think we as an industry bandy these terms around quite a bit, but I'd like to sort of come to you first. This is what does it mean for you? And I guess less from a technology perspective, but what does it mean to you and your businesses and what they can achieve? Terje, if I come to you first on that one, what does openness and cloud native mean for you and you at Telenor?
Yeah, no, I think it's I think as a Telenor and as any telco, we would like to be open in the sense. And are we open today? No. But it's like what you just heard on the cloud native. It's also a journey, I think. So for us, I think it's important when we discuss openness that we're not only limiting ourselves to the technical systems. Of course, those needs to be defined. Models, interfaces, gateways, APIs, and all those kind of things. But it's probably even more important, to address what we call the operating model. Who is actually doing what? And that, of course, also embraces the way of operating, the people, the processes internally, and the collaboration externally. And the third element is actually the business models. If you don't have an idea about, how is the money flowing through this, who's getting what share of the pie or whatever you want to call it, it's very hard to convince anyone that we should go to this openness. So it's both the technical operating model and of course the business model, which is part of it. And then of course it's a lot about people, mindset. You need to reach out to collaborate with suppliers, partners, also the customers. I think we heard an example earlier. For example, we are collaborating with the armed forces in Norway as a co-creation, but also with other operators. And what we are doing. We are doing joint ventures, we are doing network sharing kind of things. So that's so you need to be open in all dimensions, I think, to truly address this openness.
So openness almost as a means to generate collaboration, and collaboration in an industry that typically hasn't been very good at collaborating, I guess.
That's an issue. Yeah, that's an issue. I think, and if I may, sorry if I'm spending a lot of time in the beginning. So we have in Telenor launched, I think it was about 15 months ago, what we call a Reshape Telenor. And that's a start on this openness. And the way we are starting is that we're carrying out dedicated business areas, which are then managing their own kind of assets or capabilities. And of course, a no-brainer in that, which is many others have done, is to carve out what we call the infrastructure part of it. Towers, fiber, data centers, and those kind of things. And amazing is to see that when you do that, of course, you get a specific attention of these kind of assets. And the basic questions, of course, for the management teams in those business areas is how can we maximize the utilization or the benefits or the value of these kind of assets? And that's a very, very different mindset for that kind of management when you're only focusing, these are my assets I want to maximize, or you're part of a much, much bigger, small in the corner, I'm dealing with some assets, but not the total business. So it's very interesting to see, the traction we have gotten just in the last 15 months on doing this. In improving processes, improving efficiency, addressing almost double the size of the number of customer base of these kind of assets. Sorry for the long answer, Francis. Yeah.
And Vivek, Rakuten and Rakuten Symphony have really put openness at really the heart of the rollout of the fourth network in Japan, and now with one in Germany as well. What does openness mean for Rakuten? And I guess what are you seeing that it's enabling you to do?
So I think let me take a step back and first just pose a question: is why is open even important? Why is it relevant, etc. In general, I think we have a firm belief, and I'm assuming a lot of you will agree, that in society in general, value is created at the interfaces. People interact with people, businesses interact with other businesses, network operators interact with customers and organizations, otherwise there'd be no value. So I think that is a very important thing to keep in mind when we talk about open, because open allows you, and I think that you already touched upon the fact that you can now do a lot more in terms of collaborating. And if you then distill down to the technology, process, infrastructure view of openness, whether it's Open RAN or Open Cloud or the virtualization space, etc., what those are doing are enabling customers and operators, etc., to move closer to that concept of saying, how can you open up your functional capabilities in a more controlled, governed manner, relatively more than you have in the past? And the technology itself is not necessarily that important, because we have a certain set of maturing and mainstream technologies today. It'll probably look different in 15 years from now. But the essence of what it means to be open necessarily won't change. From a Rakuten Symphony point of view, I think both in Japan and in Germany, I think it was the customers, so Rakuten Mobile as a customer first and then 1&1. I think the reason that they embraced this was, one is obviously a TCO point of view, which is slightly different when you're greenfield, agree to that. But also, I think if you look at the previous conversation was touching about monetization a little bit, so I'm going to try and borrow a little bit from that. Monetization is actually three things in my opinion, right? So the holy grail is how do you increase total addressable market? So that's top line. I don't think there's easy answers. Whether you say the use cases aren't available enough or the apps aren't available enough, that is the holy grail, right? Every CFO and CEO would like, and the board would like to see the top line growing. But there's actually two more levers to monetization in my point of view. If in a historical, non-open, non-cloud native way, you were able to deliver an offering or bring a product to market in, let's say, 5 months, and using some of these toolings and process changes, etc., you could now do that in 4 weeks. You're accelerating time to market, and that is improving your ability to bring cash into the organization. You might still be having the same target market, but you're able to get to it faster. And this is something your customers will also appreciate. Because it's a pleasant change from them. They had to wait for 6 months or 4 months, and now they can get to it in a couple of weeks. And then there's a third element to this, and automation has a significant part to play. And at least from my point of view, I think this is my favorite bit of what cloud native truly can enable in open. There's a bit of a dichotomy in telecoms. The businesses want vendor diversity. They want the ability and flexibility to change as they want. They want innovation. And on the other end, procurement wants single neck to choke, consistency of experience, everybody to have similar operating model, KPIs, OLAs, SLAs. And the dichotomy is, from a dynamic point of view, these things try to pull each other in different directions. So what cloud native does, let's start with a simpler example of open cloud or a telco horizontal cloud. It starts giving you the ability to say, you can now have a common fabric, which allows you to then say, if I'm going to build a house on this fabric, whether it's a network stack or a new product or a service, I can then work together with my ecosystem partners, whether they are IT vendors or your network function vendors, and gently, or in some cases not so gently, force them to say, align and subscribe to cloud native principles because you allow me a higher degree of control, automation, change, and flexibility, which directly then goes across these three layers and says, I can now be a lot more open, agile, faster, and the downstream effect hopefully starts seeing itself in those three levers of monetization. So openness, I think, is understanding the reason why you want to do it first. Looking back into your business, Philippe, I think, had an absolutely spot-on point saying, I mean, the example was Antwerp, but I think that was just it was a mnemonic. If you just zoom out and say, is it worth doing because it's big enough, etc. And I think what openness is about is understanding the business rationale and the trigger to do it, understanding it's also a cultural and a mindset shift, and then saying, for me to do this in a controlled fashion, what are the tool sets, processes, etc., that I need to implement to do it? So I think that, to me, in a telco context, is being open.
No, that's really good. I'm going to skip one of our questions, but I'm going to go on to sort of saying, how are we yet gaining the benefits as an industry of cloud native, and are we getting all the benefits of the wider openness community in all of its aspects at this stage? Terje, if I could sort of come...
If the question is all the benefits, my answer would be no.
Well, obviously all of the benefits, all at the time.
No, exactly.
List every single one of them. Every single one of them.
I think it's very, very important what we also heard, and I really enjoyed also the presentation of talking with Verizon on the journey. It's a journey. And I think, and then you have to take step by step, and then also collect the benefits as you're going along. And I think Paul mentioned also in the previous panels some of the benefits we have seen on our journey. And I think I can maybe spice up a bit with a few numbers. So one of the benefits when we initially moved mobile core onto that is a virtualized mobile core. The first time we did that, we actually saved 40%
Yep.
of the supplier cost. Sorry to say, but
No,
but that's kind of that's kind you know the
100% agree.
when
That was
you are exposing it to competition, you know, you have to really perform in order to be part of the setup. So that's kind of just one of the numbers. So then of course there are a couple of other numbers. I think Paul also mentioned that when we are doing this, you do a significant upscaling on the security side, because you do a massive investment, new hardware, and you're introducing, you know, all the security, both the protection and the detection mechanisms, which you really want to do that. And then I think we have examples like we just for the fun of it, in a way, is that we spend less than 2 days from the first contact we had with a new supplier until we had the gateway in operation. Mm-hmm. So that's the speed of, and then of course not procurement, but that was the speed of, you know, the ability to get new functionality into the network. And then we had also a massive fire in one of the data centers in Asia, so it was actually completely knocked out. Luckily, we had spare capacity in the other data center in the same country, so you could just scale up the capacity on the network on the network side, hardly noticeable for the customers. Just some of the early kind of benefits on taking those steps. Yeah.
I think one of the things I've observed, I was lucky enough to go to KubeCon in Paris a month ago. And for the audience here, if you get an opportunity to go to a conference like that, it's a open cloud native foundation, Kubernetes, a hall packed with developers, and there's a completely different vibe to the whole conference. It's developers leading. It's a standards process that we really would not recognize in this room. Standards that are evolving. People who want to be at the bleeding edge of technology, those that want more random. And I think one of the things, I think particularly in the cloud native area, the more we can learn from looking at other industries, but more importantly, looking at how the wider development community is looking there, is the thing that brings us. And openness is at the center of that story. Vivek, what are you seeing in terms of the key aspects of getting to openness?
I think, so thank you to the reference to KubeCon though. The teams were there and they had the similar experience, and they're there every year from Rakuten Symphony Cloud. I think the biggest difference, there's a chance some people in this room will recognize what I'm about to say. And for those who don't, I'm happy to have a conversation once we're done on the panel. I think we've become an industry, telecoms, over the last 3 decades or so, which is driven by consensus, whether it's standards or GSMA or 3GPP, etc. And that the bodies that come for the consensus are multivariate. There's vendors, there's regulatory, there's operators, etc. And then that leads to a fair amount of debate and deliberation, which is good. Input is always good, but time. And I'm assuming what you saw there was developers going on stage and knocking up a POC while they're presenting.
Yeah.
Right? I have looked for years. I can't find, if somebody has it, please do forward to me. The first demo I ever saw of Twilio, years ago, was on YouTube. It was identical. They had the audience take out their cell phones, and they were writing code in front of them, projecting it on the screen. And there was this 5 or 6 lines of code. They said, we're just going to knock up a proxy, do this, etc. I'm not from Twilio, by the way, but just it's a good example. So, and they had the audience who were willing to participate, log on to the number, and they could start seeing the IMSI capture, etc. instantly. That is something we should aspire to. I'm not saying that example, but that is the speed of innovation. So I think from a telco point of view, the reality is something we can't ignore. We have a current state of operations globally. Some jurisdictions like Europe, etc., have other sort of higher barriers as well. Yeah. That's not going to go away overnight. But then there's a fair amount of leadership from the operator community with us this week, pretty much from across Europe, perhaps even globally. So I think my ask to them would be, you probably have it collectively in your power to show the way a little bit, to say, how can we get a bit closer to that? We don't have to become a Facebook or a Twilio, etc. And that would be music to the ears of folks like ourselves. Because from a cloud and an open RAN perspective, we kind of try to emulate and come from that background. And then we do see the reality of the operators' current abilities, capabilities, gravity, inertia, the consortiums, etc. So I think that's something that we have to solve. And again, it comes down to, I think, operating models and people.
So we're getting close to the end of time, end of the time of the Fireside Chat. I guess it's very easy for us as an industry to beat ourselves up. But I think, what are you seeing as the positive things about what we are already achieving? And I guess, what are the important things that we can readily achieve in the near future in terms of our journey to openness and cloud native? Terje.
No, I think it's a very good question, of course, in my mind, Francis. I think we should be celebrating more the achievements, and it's also what was mentioned yesterday. If you look at what we are delivering and have been delivering for the last decades, which is connectivity, there is an increasing demand for that. Of course, the issue is about how do you get the money back. But the benefit from the society on the connectivity and also from the customers, you can probably tick off that. So let's rather build on those, and then can we collaborate further with the customers and with partners. And that's, I think, is also this co-creation, and where definitely openness needs to be as a fundament in order to make this smooth. And also collaborate with other new partners, maybe some of them from Cubecom, I guess, in a very, very different way. And that's back to the operating models. We need to start, embracing the new way of thinking and new way of working. And that's, I think, is also mentioned in the last panel, that this takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
So that's, but let's celebrate, I think, all the achievements. There are quite a few achievements already out there, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Vivek,
I think, if I can just add one bit to what Terje has already said, I think as an industry, the evidence is now clear. I think for about a decade, there were two camps, a set of upstarts trying to promote something called Open RAN and everything that goes below it. And there was a fairly large incumbent community which was very dismissive of the idea. I think as recently as late last year, every single operating network vendor in the world has fully committed to Open RAN. So I think that's something for the entire industry to be proud about. How it manifests itself will obviously differ from vendor to vendor, but conceptually, it is no longer a deny, dismiss battle. So something has been breached, right? So thank you to all the operators and the fellow vendors who didn't give up. Are we there yet? Not at all. Yeah. Not at all. But I think the very fact that we've breached and crossed that Rubicon saying Open RAN is now starting to have commercial grade conversation. And I'm talking outside of Rakuten Mobile and Drillish. They're already live there, serving live customers and traffics and millions of subscribers. But now I'm talking about larger existing tier 1 telcos who are leaning into this journey a little bit more specifically and putting a little bit more investment behind it. So I think, to your point, I think we do have something very tangible and specific to look forward to. And this is an example, hopefully, of the beginning of the shift of the mindset saying, we're going to start doing this so that we can move faster and be a bit more agile.
So Terje and Vivek, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.